Well, good evening, guests. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Teacher Wellness Lounge, where we talk about all things wellness. And I'm so excited to have our guest tonight, Mr. Tyresse Raphael, honey, because he's going to talk about the money.
Yes, yes, yes.
Love it. I love it. I'm so glad that you all are joining us and that we have him on the show tonight because money is just something that is taboo to talk about. Personally, for me, I'm excited that you're here because, really tackling this financial trauma and financial health is really top of the list for me
Mhm.
this year. And not just because it's 2021, but forever, as long as I'm on the planet, I want to be cultivating great financial health. So I'm certainly glad that you are here with us tonight. Let's open up a little bit by letting our guests know really a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get rolling.
Cool, cool. Well, I appreciate. Thank you so much for inviting me here. So I'll just jump on into it. Well, a little bit about me. I'm actually a native of New York City,
Whoop,
Brooklyn, New
whoop.
York. Woo, woo. Yep, yep. My mom was actually a country gal at the time. She came from a little town in North Carolina called Bath, North Carolina. She moved to New York. I'm actually one of five kids that she actually adopted. And
Wow.
she had three of her own. And the ironic thing is, out of all eight boys, well, I already gave it away. Out of all eight of them, they were all was boys, which,
Wow.
no girls, no girls. So that was kind of ironic. And another thing is, I do have a 2-year-old daughter, beautiful daughter named Empress, and she acts just like her name. She acts like a queen.
A queen.
And
Awesome.
the ironic thing is, three of the boys that had kids, guess what? All of them had girls.
So y'all
so,
balancing it out.
so
You're
we balanced
balancing
it
it
out.
out.
Uh-huh.
Mama had eight boys. That
Eight
is
boys.
really incredible. And since we talking about money tonight, that is a big food
That
bill because
man,
growing boys really like
we
it.
eat. We eat.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
I
So
love it. And how do you spend your professional time?
professionally, I'm a full-time real estate broker and a full-time licensed life insurance agent and
Oh,
distributor of financial services. So that's what I
awesome.
do full-time. hmm
Awesome.
I
So,
currently live in North Carolina,
okay.
out in the Raleigh area. So it's a big up and coming city.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to come visit. I'm gonna have to come visit. And so thank you so much for sharing a
hmm
little bit about yourself. I'm sure we'll be able to weave a whole lot of that throughout our time tonight. But as you know, and I shared that the Teacher Wellness
hmm
Lounge is all about, all things wellness. And
hmm
and I believe that wellness and self-care is so much more than getting your nails done. People just think it's about a massage, that it's about the spa. But really, in my work and in my recruiting of teachers, and because I have student loans, money is just such a heavy burden on
hmm
the hearts of educators. We've got young teachers that are newly graduating, that
hmm
basically their options usually are three roommates deep, staying home with their parents, just because they can't afford
hmm
student loans, and then the teacher salary is not where it needs to be, right? And
Gotcha.
so they're strapped. I mean, we have teachers around the country. This is not just in Georgia where I'm at, around the country, that they're having to have all these side hustles and
hmm
Uber Eats and DoorDash and selling platelets, to supplement their income. So I'm really pumped up about tonight's show because I know that we're going to be just scratching the surface.
hmm
However, my goal is to keep having guests that talk about finances. Of course,
hmm
having you back on.
hmm
And as our audience and our folks tell us what they need to hear in terms of finances, we'll bring that content to them. But
Okay.
tonight we're going to start with some really basic things.
Okay.
And then my goal is for us to, just as we continue to grow, that we build upon that platform. So let's
Absolutely.
talk about money. Let's talk
Absolutely.
about money.
I love
And
money.
if you don't mind, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey and your
Hmm.
story as it relates to money, because I believe all of us have a story.
Hmm.
And I also believe that, there's so much power in conversation. And as people of color, I think it's time for us to really start having these raw conversations about finances that are not shrouded in shame and fear and embarrassment,
Hmm.
but let's keep it 100 so that we can
Absolutely.
find solution and get healthy in this area of our life. So if you don't mind, share a little bit about your story and your journey and why you're so passionate about financial health.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, pretty much coming up from how some people say, I grew up in the projects, or label it the hood. And one thing that you said earlier about people fear finances is because I know for me, mama didn't talk about finances and how to save. The thing was go to college, get a degree, get a good job. It don't always work out that way. So for me, I journeyed from anywhere from customer service. I worked in call centers. I sold cars. I sold door to door doing cable. I worked in the restaurant industry, and I've done a lot. I've done a lot of things in customer service. What made me geared towards one getting my life insurance and educating families was one. I did manage to get that good job making six figures a year. The bad part about it was no one taught me how to manage that money. And
That's
when
such a
that
great point, Tyrese. That's such a great point, because we see this even with athletes, right? I mean, they get all this money and then they retire and haven't prepared or blow all the money, because I believe wealth, and particularly generational wealth, has to
happened,
be a mindset. So I love that you make that point. You had the six figures, but you didn't have the wisdom to manage. So keep telling, keep sharing.
absolutely, absolutely, and that with athlete because I was an athlete as well too. I played football, played basketball, played baseball, and that is the exact reason why a lot of athletes, and it's predominantly mostly black athletes that become broke. They've been in the league 15, 16 years, and they don't got no money. They got to go to get a fast food job. Why? Is because one, they didn't have, this is key, they didn't have the right people in their circle. That's one. You got to have the right people in your circle that's telling you the right things. But when you don't have that, you're gonna hear the people say, "Oh no, you can afford that. Go buy it. Do this and do that." And then they bleeding you from all the money that you have, and you don't got nothing to show for it. So again, making six figures. I did manage. God has graced me to buy me a house. That I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that with the six figures. But outside of that, I really didn't have nothing. It was more or less. I heard those conversations with other people that was in my circle who was same color skin as mine. I was like, yo, you could afford it, man. Just go buy it. Just spend it up. But no one ever took the time and said, Tyrese, look, one, this thing don't last always. You have to prepare just in case something happened. And that's what actually slapped me in the face. Something tragic happened with my company. Everything changed.
Wow.
New leadership, new management. Some of the managers end up retiring, and when that happens in a big corporation, when you're making that type of money, they come in, look at the type of money they are paying, and then want to change the rules to the game and say, well, you was making it this way, now you got to do it that way. So it really put a financial strain on me because I didn't set up something for the future. Everything I had was then and now. I was happy
Right.
with it. I wasn't thinking, don't tell me nothing about something might happen down the road. I got this money now.
Right. I'm
So
20 years old. Who's thinking about retirement?
exactly. But here's the ironic thing. I just celebrated my 33rd birthday this past January.
Happy
40.
birthday.
Thank you. This actually happened
On you, sir.
for this. Thank you. This actually happened 4 short years ago. I had the good job 4 short years ago. And then I was able to, all that transpired, which then honestly, it's sad that it has to happen like that for you to realize, like, man, I should have did this. I had a lot of conversations with myself, like, dang, I should have did this. It's too late now. So, but again, God has graced me now to say, you know what to do. You've been through it. Guess what? You can help somebody else so they don't go down the same road as you. The great
Right.
thing about it is because I'm 33, we're young right now. You don't want to be out here young, spending up all the money. You want to set up something for retirement, because I want to retire within the next 7 years, because retirement is not an age. Retirement is a dollar amount. That's what we got to understand. And I don't
So
think we
I
understand.
love that. I love
Mhm,
that because we're talking about money and we're talking about being around the right people. We're talking about strategies,
mhm,
for saving and all these tools and things that are in place to help us get to exactly what you just
mhm,
said, right? So I want to kind of bring it back to the context of a teacher
mhm,
because number one, part of my passion and part of my drive is to really start educating teachers
mhm,
on the fact that, you know, don't depend on teacher retirement, right?
mhm.
We're not even living in a season anymore where people teach 30 years,
Yeah.
right? We're in a generation now where people date their jobs. As
Yep.
Kanika Tolver says in Career Rehab, she says you are to date your job, not
Mm,
marry your job, right?
wow.
And so I really want to empower teachers to start seeing themselves not only as educators, but also entrepreneurs
Mhm,
so that they can start to plan a little bit differently. And I don't want them to wait until they're my age, which will
mhm.
remain undisclosed at this time.
You still
To
young though.
yes, to make, I love you, to make that pivot, right? To make that
Uh-huh.
pivot,
Absolutely.
right? So I constantly say teachers don't have the time to wait for policies,
Mhm,
politicians to get it right.
mhm,
I want to empower them and encourage them and say, you know what? There's a business inside of you. There's a book inside of you because I'm just seeing it in so many cohorts of teachers that are graduating where the money is such a big stressor.
mhm,
Counting on teacher retirement, yes, it's good, but and you're vested by 10 years. But then the other thing that I saw in even in my own career as a teacher, I'd have seasoned veteran teachers counting down to that 30 years or whatever. And then 6 months later, you see them and they're a sub, and you're like, well, didn't you just
Didn't
retire?
you?
Well, they
Mm,
just retired, but they realize that number one, they need something to do, right? They miss it. But a lot of them come back because they can't afford
oh,
point to retire
uh-huh.
because the money really does not make ends meet, or you're living still paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm,
So I love that you mentioned that pivot, and I wanted to drop, my insight on that because I again want to encourage teachers to develop a side hustle, to
mhm,
consider a side hustle so you're not so strapped.
mhm,
So from a young person's standpoint,
mhm.
what would be your thoughts or your advice, let's say for a new teacher that just graduates, right? They 23, 24, well, not 24, but more like
But
21, 22,
mhm,
and they're just graduated. They got 6 months before those student loans kick in,
mm,
and that stress begins to really become very real.
mhm.
What advice do you have or insight do you have for someone in that situation?
Okay. So that's like a two-part question. All right. The first part, I'm gonna transition here. So if that individual young and have kids, if they have a child, one, I would say the smartest investment you can do to protect yourself is one, get life insurance, cover yourself, because the reason why I say that is we are not promised the next minute on this call. Okay. As sad as it might sound, or harsh as it might say, I could drop dead and it's all over. So the first thing you want to do is protect yourself and protect your income if you have somebody dependent on you.
Right.
Now,
Can you stop right there, Tyrese? Because I love that you're going in this direction. And I would even include, even if you don't have a child, you're more driven to do it if you have a child. If you're a single mom, which, a lot of teachers that graduate are single moms. I was a single mom because I started late. But even for a young teacher who doesn't have insurance or just depends on the insurance that the school district provides, that is only, you're only covered as long as you're an employee.
There
with the
you
school
go.
system. So I want you to educate those teachers out there that are newly graduated or are just depending, whether you're newly graduated or mid-year of your career, right? If you have insurance through the school district that you work for, that is only covering you while you are an employee. So Tyrese, talk about the additional.
Absolutely. So you already kind of made the point about having it outside of your job, because again, one, life insurance is based on two things. It's based on your health and your age. Okay. Now, when it comes to your life insurance with the job, everybody don't realize that the only reason you have that cheap rate is because you have a group rate with that job, and that's it. And it's either three things that's what's going to make you leave your job. You're either going to retire, you're going to leave voluntarily or involuntarily, which means you're going to get fired. And in most instances, you can't take that policy with you because that's the group policy. If you do, the thing is, because imagine you get it at 21, you've been working on that job for 10 years. Now you're 31 years old, which means your premium is going to be much more expensive. And then you're going to try to take that policy with you. It's going to be too much for you that you can't afford it. So it's good to have it outside of your job. So no matter where you go, you can go work at Burger King, you can go work for Amazon. This is your policy and it's going to go where you go. It's better to get it now while you're younger instead of waiting until you're older.
Absolutely.
Another thing is, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, when it comes to life insurance policies inside the jobs, these are mostly whole life policies. And really, you're not really gaining anything out of it. Okay. So it's best to, one, I would say, buy a term policy where you can get the maximum amount of your coverage for the least amount of your money, and something we're going to speak on, and invest the difference in the savings.
Absolutely. So, I love that. And I just want, it's the teacher in me. I want to recap right there.
Yes.
Because we want to hone the point that as a new employee, let's even say just new teacher employee, you really should consider getting an outside policy, because you can take that wherever you go and it follows you. And then you don't bear the burden of higher rates down the line if you are to lose, which is what's kind of jammed me up. And now it's taking forever to get life insurance.
Gotcha.
Because at 50, ain't nobody trying to invest in you. Oh, the cat is out of the bag. You know my age. But yeah, okay. so and the reason I say, and the reason why we're titling our episode tonight that financial health is wealth, is because knowing that part of your life, or at least the insurance part, is taken care of, that alleviates a lot of stress, which leads to health, right?
Absolutely.
But I also want to just share with in our conversation that there's a difference between financial trauma, right, and really financial tools, because I see tools like the how to budget, the difference between whole life and term. Those to me are tools that help us manage our financial trauma.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, And let's keep it real, because you know I like to keep it 100.
100. That's what
I
we're going to
remember
do.
growing up, you know, this is before GoFundMe, right? Where
Which
somebody
is not
passes
life
away,
insurance, by the way.
right?
Sorry to
Which is
cut you
not
off.
life insurance, where someone passes away and either it was the wrong insurance or they had no insurance. And so before GoFundMe, everybody's blowing up your phone, your house phone, because we didn't have cell phones, right? They're
Yeah.
blowing up your house phone, everybody trying to collect money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be very transparent. My
Absolutely.
paternal grandfather became a multimillionaire as a result of a malpractice suit,
Okay.
right? So he lost his sight and it was their fault. And so they compensated him
Mm-hmm.
as much as you can compensate for your vision, right?
Yeah.
Which is priceless, but you get the point.
Uh-huh.
Why he passes away and we're collecting money. This man
Mm.
had, he was multimillionaire. He had more,
Mm-hmm.
he had money at some point,
Uh-huh.
right? Because it goes back to that trauma,
Mm-hmm.
not understanding our worth, our value, whatever conversations, were had about money or didn't have about money. You didn't have about money. I didn't have people around me growing up that really had jobs.
Absolutely.
People that and the adults that were in my circle were on public assistance.
Mm.
So we didn't have, they would gather around the mailbox waiting for that check to come in. We
Mm.
didn't have these conversations. And so, something that a connection I want to share with you, Tyrese, that I made in my own life regarding money is that because we were on public assistance, I always had what we used to call that monopoly money.
Uh-huh.
Right. So the food stamps look like monopoly money.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
so as a kid, I hated when my mom sent me to the store with that monopoly
I was
money.
embarrassed. Listen, I'm only 30. I know. I used to.
Right. It ain't no fancy EBT card.
No.
So I'm at the store paying with this monopoly money and ashamed because, you look, the customer in front of you got the real money and the person behind you got the real money and you got this monopoly money. So you don't even develop, or I will say, I didn't even develop an appreciation and an understanding about money. I knew that I was different because mine was white paper and everybody else had green real money. Right. So then now we have the fact that shame is wrapped around it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my financial trauma.
Yeah.
Right. It's the shame around money, about not having it, maybe thinking I'm not worthy to have it. So that's the whole part, or not part, but that's just part of what I do want to make sure that we talk about. We
Absolutely
like that, because yes, life insurance, and that is important because that's a tool to help manage the stress.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think we need to dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Start making those kind of financial connections, or our relationship with money. Okay.
Yes.
So first things first is that we need to make sure that insurance is on lockdown.
Yes. Get that out the way.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not only just protecting your life, it's protecting your income, because there are people depending on you. Because again, we probably gonna say this a little later too. Probably jumping ahead of myself, was I lost my mother and my brother, my daughter's 2. She's about to be 3, a month after my daughter was born. Right, I lost them at the same time. That's when I realized how important life insurance really is, because it seems like as soon as they was gone, and it's funny that I say, like, I don't know how they got my number. Hey, I'm sorry for your loss, but they owed me such and such and such. Like, can I grieve? Them bills do not stop. They look, my mom and them and my brother may have passed, but those bills don't pass. And guess what? The people that they owe money to, they coming back. They want their money. So it's very important that it's not just looked at as like life insurance in case I die. It's to protect your loved ones financially, because a lot of stuff is going to happen when you are dead and gone that you don't even realize is going to happen.
Like it's really, it sounds like, to Tyrese, really what you're saying, life continues,
Life continues.
Life continues without you, and your bills have a life of their own.
Absolutely.
And I love that this, that I know we're honing in on life insurance tonight, and that's okay because it's important.
It's important. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in the vein of remaining honest and real, our white counterparts understand how to leverage this insurance. That's how they pay for their children's college tuition.
That's it. You about to make me cry over here. Oh my God. Yes, our counterparts does that exactly. Because that's when you leave, that's when it comes to leaving generational wealth. And here's a prime example. Here's a prime example. I have life insurance on myself just in case something happens. Could you imagine if I say I live another 20 years, so my daughter's going to be 22, could you imagine the life she's going to be able to live when the insurance company cut her a check for $250,000? You know how much further ahead in life she's going to be able to be than when I was 22. I'm out here struggling, trying to figure out how to do stuff because my parents didn't teach us about this stuff. My I say this, my mom, she didn't have life insurance on herself, but she did have it on her boys. And unfortunately, due to some technicalities, the insurance company didn't pay out. So that really unctioned me to get into life insurance and figure out why and educate people in that way. But in all, I'm sorry, but in all, could you imagine now at 22 years old? Like, unfortunately, my dad gone, but he left me $250,000.
That's
Like,
all for me.
now
That's
that's
all
all
for
for
her.
me. So imagine if we rewind our lives back at 22 and say our parents, if they passed, they left us 200. We gonna act a fool. I could tell you that much. But again, it's also important too, not only to have something like that, is also have like a will, write out some plans. You have to be strategic. You can't just give a child $250,000 and think they're gonna do everything right. Hey, this you only can do X amount for this, for school, for a house, and then you can't touch the rest till X, Y, and
Absolutely.
Z. So you still want to have a plan in place for that. But my daughter's gonna be so far ahead than I was when she's at a younger age. When in the event whenever I pass away, when it comes to life insurance. But
Right.
it's just
And the
we
reason
wasn't
why,
taught that. We
yeah,
wasn't
and
taught
you
that.
know what, Tyrese, this is also important to talk about because I'm very passionate about our black and brown babies. When these students graduate
Yes.
college, and then if they went to an HBCU, everybody doesn't get a full ride. So if you go
Everybody.
to an HBCU and it's private, you're paying more and you're graduating with much more debt. Your white counterparts,
Mm-hmm.
their parents had this whole insurance thing together. So they cut you a check. And so when you graduate college, and I've done my own little field research. When I'm at a recruiting event,
Mm-hmm.
I will ask. And just from anecdotally, white students tend to not have either as much or the same level of debt or are debt free when they graduate a teaching program. But our babies are struggling because they have the debt.
It's
So I want to
exactly. It's kind
encourage
of one
our
of
listeners. I'm sorry. I want to encourage our listeners. Even if you're a young teacher, you're 25 years old, you want to break the cycle of financial trauma.
mm-hmm.
We have to start addressing this so that you could set up the next generation.
Setting up. It's one of them. It's one of them things when it comes to our Caucasian counterparts. When it comes to money and like that with school, they don't have no worries when it comes to that. That's why a lot of times you see, and I give you an example. When I was working in the restaurant industry, it was a guy. I probably was about 20. I wasn't that old at that time. I probably was about 25 years old, and it was a younger guy, Caucasian guy. He was about 4 years old. He's about 29 years old. Lived with his parents. Got drunk. Got drunk. totally demolished the car. It was on the news. Vehicle flipped over.
Wow.
He come to work. He was okay. Thank God he was okay. And we was just talking and have a conversation. And me and a friend of mine was like, dang, man, for us, like, yo, what did your parents do? Like, and he just shrugged it off like it was nothing, like, nothing. They could get another one. And it was like, oh my goodness, like, it's so sad. Like, the fact that they don't really appreciate it like that money. It's because their parents had it. But on our end, it's when it comes to school, we have those worries and have to work extra hard to get in those good schools. Because one, to get in those good schools, you have to have money. And we already know, I'm gonna speak for me. My mama didn't have the money. So I couldn't just go to the best school that I wanted. And if I did, I had to work extra hard to get some type of scholarship. And then even if I do work extra hard to try to get that scholarship, there's a possibility that I may not get it.
Right.
So it sucks that we ourselves have to make the buck have to stop with us. We have to break that generational curse for our future.
Absolutely. I agree. And you're absolutely right. And as you were talking about, just kind of wrapping that up, it made me think about the level of stress that's associated with money for
Mm-hmm.
us as people of color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, boy, it sure would have been nice to be able
It,
to sit
it
in class and just worry about my schoolwork
schoolwork.
and graduating on time. Not, how am I going to eat? Do I have
Time to
enough
eat.
money to pay for the semester? Oh, well, I
There
have
you
money for
go.
the semester, but I don't have enough for my books. Or,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the government or this fell through, so now I got to pay for my own housing. Like, that is stress.
That
And,
is.
and if we're honest with ourselves and take time to really think about it, for many of us, money and stress go hand in hand.
Hand in hand. There you go.
Go hand in hand. And when something stresses you out, you don't want to have nothing to do with it, even
Mm-hmm.
if you just appear to have money.
Mm-hmm.
You got that big Hummer parked in front of the apartment complex,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, or you have all these designer bags and all of this, and you don't have life insurance.
You don't have life insurance.
So it's all mindset. It's stress around money.
Mm-hmm.
I see it on the faces of our teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they have one takeaway from tonight, that life insurance
Yeah.
is really important, but just even thinking about finances
Mm-hmm.
and to be encouraged to deal with this money talk,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's just, it's so important
Yes.
to have these conversations, and it's never too late. That's the other
It's
beauty about
it's
life.
never too late.
It's never too late to reset, to restart. I mean, I got so tickled at myself last night because I have a Robinhood account,
Uh-huh.
and I decided, a couple years back, I was like, listen, I love Nike, and I'm gonna own me a piece of Nike. I don't care if it's one share,
Shit.
I'm getting me a piece of Nike.
The confidence
Yes.
that comes with that, like, I own something of value.
Exactly. You would have thought I sit on the board at Nike, but last night I was trying to get on my account and I couldn't get in. I was like, "Oh, you trying to keep
Oh
my
no.
Nike money?" But
That's good.
it's really even that.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to dress nice and look
Yeah.
nice. Hey, like I said, I grew up on public assistance. Mama made sure we was clean
Yeah.
and Griffin and wash them shoelaces and all
Yeah.
that, to make sure we look decent. So
Absolutely.
I get it. There's nothing wrong with that, but I really want us to prioritize,
Mm-hmm.
really start thinking about money in a different way. I love that you talked about retirement is not about an age, but really a dollar
It's a
amount,
dollar amount.
a dollar
Absolutely.
amount. So I want our teachers out there
Yeah.
to start, again,
Yeah.
thinking differently about life insurance,
Yeah.
thinking differently about possibly starting a side hustle and pursuing, something that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with a teacher last night during my master class, and she was a graphic designer, and she loves
Mhm.
printing t-shirts. I said, that is a business.
That's a business.
That's a
Mm.
business. So, get that life insurance in order. Thinking about a side hustle,
Mhm.
something to supplement
Your
your
income.
income and really foster a passion and nurture your passion. I think these things are all important. And the earlier you start, the
The
better.
better. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of them things because because I say like this. I didn't go to college. I did manage to graduate high school. I was always in a sense built of like I don't have to go to college to for someone to say that I'm intelligent and I can articulate certain things. I don't need a degree. There was just me personally. I don't need a degree to say, well, that makes you somebody. No, God made us all and he gifted us with all types of gifts and talents. So we just got to figure out what it is. I was always the type to say as a young kid growing up, because I was a smart little boy. I could tear, I could tear something apart and put it back together all the like nothing. I could put stuff together without reading instruction. I articulated things and figured things out. I was just an inquisitive mind. So one thing I say all that to say this. One thing I knew was, hey, I just gotta find the right things or the right profession where I could maximize what that's already in me. That was in me was I was a great problem solver. I was a great communicator. I was great. I had great people skills. So that nurtured me into where I am now. And I believe in getting like certificates or licenses where you don't have to go to a college to get a license. I'm a real estate broker. I didn't have to go to no college for that, and that gives me notarized that say, hey, he is official and appointed by the state. Where now, guess what? I can go to anybody who wants to buy a house, sell a house, or invest in a house and make money off it. Didn't go to college for it. My life insurance license, I'm appointed by the state, which means I can help anybody as long as I'm licensed in that state. And right now, I'm currently licensed in 3 states, working on 3 more, where I can go to all those states and help people get with life insurance and I get paid for it. So it's great to have certificates. I was always on that mindset because coming in New York, a lot of things was that's the word, having a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Trades are very valuable, and some people could knock it. Plumbers, you need a plumber. You're always going to have business as a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Refrigeration, things like that. That's going to give you value where you always going to be employed no matter what. A lot of times we go to college to get that high job, that six-figure job, and guess what? That six-figure job could hire you today and let you go tomorrow.
Right.
So it's important that we get trades and certifications that's going to bring that income into us no matter what. No matter what the economy does, no matter what the jobs do, I'm always going to be employed because one, the services and the products that I offer is a necessity. You need it regardless of what the job does. You need this product. You need all of these things. So that's I guess that's all I have to say on that. Um, but another
Thank
thing
you
I
for
know you
plugging
said,
trades, because I
yeah,
think, I think it is important, and even in teaching, even if you are a licensed educator, that doesn't mean that you can't diversify your skill set, right? So, to your point, yes, I went to school to be a therapist. I mean, to be a teacher. Then I saw that I was really needing to learn more about kids emotionally. So I went to school and became a therapist. When we had that crash in the economy and they were furloughing teachers, they were cutting, I really wasn't worried about it because I said I could be a therapist. I
I,
could be somebody's therapist at any time.
and,
So this really is about money
yeah,
because I want to expand our thinking and our mindset that yes,
mhm.
you're a teacher, but you can be a teacher and
And absolutely, absolutely,
no matter what the track, because I
no matter.
think that that really starts, to your point about me buying some Nike, it did raise my confidence. It made me feel like I was a part of something. And it also made me, it felt good to be not just a consumer, but now I'm an owner of Nike.
I'm an owner of Nike.
So getting out of that consumer mindset is also a way of dealing with your own financial trauma and building financial wealth.
Yes.
Because again, that is health.
This
has been such a rich conversation.
Yes.
I am just enjoying and have enjoyed our conversation. Is there one piece of wisdom as we start to wrap up, one piece of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
I know we touched on life insurance a lot. I don't know why, but we did. But another thing when it comes to, no matter, especially with teachers, no matter where they're at, whether they are just starting their career or getting ready to end their career, the importance of investing, just like you said you've done, right? And there's a lot of times why we don't invest. And I know I was at one point in my life I was this way because I was actually afraid of it because I didn't know anything about it. You know, I thought about, well, if I put my money here, then it can grow. But what if this company tanks? I lost it all. But my mama used to always tell me this, and like I said, she's from the country. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, son. But there are ways of out here for teachers, no matter where they get, to invest into things like mutual funds. And the reason being, a mutual fund is probably one of the greatest investments as well you can do in your life, because I got 4 points on that. The first reason is because it's actually professionally managed. So we're not experts in investing money, but guess what? When it comes to a mutual fund, a professional manager, they are the expert. They know exactly where to put your money so it will grow. The second reason why mutual funds is great is because it's diversified. Again, it goes back to, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because if you had $100 and you invested in one company and then that company fails, you lost everything. But imagine you had that $100 and you spread it out $1 a piece to 100 different companies, right? And one company lost $1. Well, you don't know you lost it because guess what? This other company done made you $4. So you didn't even see the loss. So that's why it diversifies your money. Another thing about a mutual fund is it's liquidable, which means it's not tied up and you can't access it. Like, when you go to the bank and you put in the traditional like savings account, they say you can't touch it for some of them 6 months, a year or longer. And no matter what happens, something catastrophic could happen in your life and you're like, I need this money. We can't. You already signed the dotted line. You can't touch this money without being penalized, which means you're not even going to get all of it anyway, and get it. So with mutual funds, you can access your money because it's yours. And the last reason about mutual funds, which is my absolute favorite, that's why I'm saying this is going to blow your mind. It is so affordable. We think investing is thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It only takes $25 to start your mutual fund. In essence, I'm going to break that down to you. If you are a family of just 2 people, even yourself, because I know I like to eat, I might be skinny, but I like to eat. It costs me less a month to start a mutual fund than me going out to eat to a restaurant. That's why I love $25.
That's a Starbucks bill right there,
That's
buddy.
a Starbucks. Exactly. You know how many everybody, man, Starbucks, you're going to afford what is it? A grande? You're going to spend about $15. It's over.
Get you a protein box. It's a done deal.
That's you done spent $25 and didn't even realize it. And you do that. If we realize and break down how much money we spend on a day-to-day basis, we actually could have been rich years ago.
You're absolutely right. I don't want to look back because then I'm gonna get sad.
No, it's okay.
I'm gonna get sad.
Here's the beauty part about that. Today you can change it and you can start.
Exactly.
That's the beauty.
And to your point, we think we got to be Warren Buffett. No, we don't. And so, as we wrap up tonight, I just want to once again encourage teachers, out there, or listeners, period.
Period.
Think about that life insurance. Think
Mm-hmm.
about really maximizing and cultivating all of your gifts and talents and get that side hustle going. Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
takes work, but in the long run, it's going to help you. It's going to help with your financial,
Mm-hmm.
outlook, your retirement, and beyond your retirement, right? Because we want to think
Yes.
about the generations that come
Mm-hmm.
after us. So we
Uh-huh.
got that insurance, we got that cultivating a business mindset,
Mindset.
and
Mm-hmm.
then we have the investment part.
Investment.
And
Absolutely.
to be honest, we could have a 3-part series where we cover each and every one of
Yeah,
those
we can.
by themselves. And at some point we will, because
Okay.
I am determined to educate us all, because I'm learning too,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll be learning together
Together.
and
Absolutely.
building our financial health so that we are wealthy and live the life that we were destined to live. Well,
Absolutely.
Tyrese, you have been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for spending
Thank you.
time with us,
No, thank you.
sharing, for laughing, because a lot of times we cover, difficult topics on the
Yeah.
Teacher Wellness Lounge, but it's all about educating,
Mm-hmm.
all about encouraging and entertaining when we can, because humor
Yeah.
is the best medicine.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
thank you again. This will not be
Thank
the
you.
last time.
I'll
Thank
look
you
forward
again
to it.
for to our listeners for joining this
Yes.
episode of the Teacher Wellness Center, the Teacher Wellness Lounge. Tyrese, where can they find you on social media?
So you can find me on Facebook by my name, Tyresse Raphael. That is spelled Tyreese. Last name Raphael. That's Raphael. You can also find me on Instagram as well under my same name. So yes, I'm out there. You're gonna probably see a picture of me and my daughter
Yes.
up there. So yeah,
She's
yeah,
a
yeah. I
cutie
love.
pie.
Yeah,
She's
thank
a
you so
cutie
much. Thank
pie.
you so much. Yeah.
Well, thank
So
you so
yeah,
much again for joining us. And this will not be again the last time.
yeah.
Until next time,
Till
love
next time.
yourselves well and journey well. Thank
Yeah.
you.
God bless you all.